Current leaks, not much. Just their weapon and what shenanigans they will need to ascend. And of course their element. Indeed. Spending all your more would be an interesting thing to do. I suppose they could level up your stuff for you. Spend it that way. I understand. Same. even then, probably still need some sort of additional identification, because my phone texts me whenever we try to do anything. Sure. Indeed. Indeed. I mean, some hacks are fairly easy to deal with. Don't give your account information out to strangers. Or anyone, for that matter. Zeals, I think. Character snide stories. No, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say the boss fight's a matter of sitting around waiting for resin. I would go to say that there is kind of content in the game. It's more of the mindless, grindy content, though. It's just you can't do it. You can't actually complete it because there's so much of it to do, and the resin is that much of a limiter. But that's a different topic. However, I would say, even if you were to finish all your grinding and stuff, what is there to do? Once you have completed your goals, there is nothing to do. In FF, I can do stuff for fun, but in the Genshin, I cannot. Because well, at least until next year, whenever they decide to put up the event, but it is the problem with event-focused games. You're going to create cool content, it's just not going to be around forever. Which they did add in this patch, but again, it's going to be done really fast, and it's kind of not even that good. It's interesting to learn about the characters, but that's about it. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that was going to happen. Indeed. Although any obsessions over Genshin Impact or FF14 are completely understandable and acceptable. As you were saying, Josh, something Barbara, and that's kind of it. We were getting sidetracked off of how the dating sims were okay at best. We will in time, just probably not. Probably sometime after Venti's banner. Yeah, it'll be some. It won't be after. That would make any sense. should be more stating that it's going to be just kind of roadmap of the MSQ, which is going to coincide with what regions we go to in what order, but I'm not even sure that's that well known of a roadmap, really. Region number 3. Actually, I wonder, would that be region number 3, or would that be region... I suppose it depends on how they put it into the game. Yes, it is, but that's not going to be part of Inazuma. Indeed, instead of going really high into the air, we're going really low into the ground. Otherwise, I'm going to be very disappointed. Like that. We have been... I have heard of some reasons for leaking, and as someone who does not seek out information really for anything, I do kind of wonder why people want to leak in the first place, but I have heard some reasoning, and it's like, alright, one reason is being like, it's kind of a check up, here's what we're putting into the game, and whether or not we, as customers, agree with it or not. If we know about it beforehand, we can let them know we do not agree with this content. You should change it while you can. It was a reason I heard once upon a time for WoW leaks. I was like, I can kind of agree with that. Indeed, but so far I am okay with MiHoYo's track record of putting in good content to the game, so that is... They haven't proven themselves of putting in a bunch of bad stuff. So I'm not going to put that as a valid reason at the moment. Actually, no, correction. There was one bad piece of content, and that was one of the events. It's a dumb food delivery event where you're not supposed to get wet in these mildly humid areas with how the game treats water sometimes. It was tedious. Thinking about going into water gets completely soaked. Indeed. Although annoying as that is, it's not what made the event tedious. It's also the can't sprint, can't glide, can't jump, or not jump, but climb. Indeed. So sometimes you'd have to take really annoying, long roundabout ways to get to where you were supposed to go. It was irritating. Although it was kind of egregious for water, and that's why we brought it up first. Because if they were going to put water as something you need to avoid, they would make sure it was in. If you have to avoid the water in the most annoying of ways. Like, I can't go across here because there is no way to get over there without climbing or gliding. So I have to go a completely different route that's even longer so I can jump off of a cliff to get down into this one spot. No, you could glide over to them. It's just that if you did, you would ruin the dish and you have to start over all over again. Indeed, the only way around it was to jump off the cliff above them, which required you to go to a completely different area, avoid the same shenanigans, and then jump down the cliff and time your plunging attack correctly so you don't take any damage. It was one of the most annoying ones. Are there any other reasons for leaking stuff? Because I've been thinking about it since I heard about the shenanigans, and I was wondering, like, what would even be a bad leak? To me, I would probably say it's a story, but no one leaks that. Hmm. I suppose if you put that qualifier of anime story in, perhaps. So far, everything makes sense to a degree, and that's all I want from the stories. I want things to make sense. I don't want things to be around for no reason. I mean, I can see it, but again, they haven't gotten to the point of, hey, here's an actually valid reason for coming along with us. At some point, when they do explain that stuff, I'll be fine with it, but until then, there is complaints to be had about some aspects of storytelling. You know, another reason I think, or I'm going to say, MiHoYo is, I think one of the reasons they said they're against the leaks is that it hurts their business. Some of the things I can agree with, but see, to me, that doesn't. That's a bad argument in my opinion, because people assuming they're like not reckless only have a set amount of money to spend. Whether they spend it on one character or another is completely irrelevant. In fact, if they're not going to spend money on a character and they find out there's a character they do want more in the future, like say they don't want Child but they want Ayaka or Eula, they might just save up Primo Gems and not have to spend any money at all. Although, granted, well, no, this is kind of if they're doing good stuff, I would say go ahead and spend that money because Genshin deserves it. But at the moment, they are kind of on a line of I can't. That account issue. It's definitely one of the things like, yeah, don't spend money. It would suck if you spent a bunch of money and then lost your account. Imagine Tectone being hacked. Someone destroyed the stack of Chroma.
Another meaningless day.
I almost... Indeed. Although, one way they could do this is to like lessen the damage. Is just make it so you can't get rid of 5-star weapons. Well, I mean, you can get rid of them for refinement, but you can't actually like get rid of them. You can't delete them from the game. You can't feed them to lesser weapons. And to me, that makes sense because, again, except for whales who have thousands of dollars to spend on the game, no one is going to have a huge amount of 5-star weapons. Anger is understandable. But at the same time, I'm just going to put it out there that losing Aquila Favoni is probably not the worst thing in the world. Indeed. Yeah, I wonder how... Like, I'm tempted to just take a screenshot of my inventory just to in the event that I do have to experience that scenario, I can maybe get stuff back and be like, hey, I had this stuff, it's gone because my account was hacked. Indeed. Does make you think sometimes. Like, even gameplay even developing the gameplay aspects is hard, but then there's all that secondary stuff that we don't even think about. Still extremely important to a game. Like making sure your account is saved, accessed in or correctly, and it is at extremely minimal risk for corruption. So many secondary things that or people don't even think about. Fallout 76. I mean, they also searched pretty hard for a way to destroy bots. I remember back in the day, bots were everywhere. Couldn't go an hour without receiving a tell, going to very legitimate sites, by the way. Having an extreme sale right now is crazy. But one day the bots just disappeared and was like, wow, all of my blacklisting, it must have been effective. Well, I mean, guild sales are different from the bots that were destroyed in the past. I think most guild sales are like people legitimately earning the money and then just selling it. Something you shouldn't do still. But it's not like they're generating the money out of thin air, which can actively harm the economy. of the game. I mean, to me, that's actually not a terrible solution. So, if you're going to do workarounds, you can suffer for it. I mean, having your account banned would be the same thing, really, in my opinion. I mean, you are effectively stealing a lot of stuff from them. I can understand them shutting it down.
Faster? Okay, faster.
I think we might have talked about that. I don't think it was on stream. I mean, maybe you just found $1 in your couch and like, you know what, I'll spend it on Genshin. That's what I'm going to do. Living that. Hmm.
Never go adventuring on an empty stomach.
Do you want to come fish blasting with me? I'll get grounded for a whole day, but it's way worth it because the fish tastes so good.
Whoa, cheap, you say?
Never go adventuring on an empty stomach.
For $80 on that website, you said, then? I see.
So heavy.
I'm the survival expert of the Adventurers Guild. Nice to meet you.
Explosion inside city wall. Grounded be thy woe. Explosions can hurt people. Gin can be dreadful.
So an extra $100 for spending $250.
Those are the survival rules.
For $100, you get 1,080. Forgetting the bonus. It's 5 multis, by the way, if you're doing that math. Which is 50 pulls, which is halfway to the pity. Indeed. Alas, it is not guaranteed character. They really should refine that pity system to work the opposite way. That's what I just said. It was probably one of the better talents that Chi-Chi has. Indeed. Technically, you're
La la la.
So many things I like about this game, but I can't tell if it's wrong of me to more or less want a complete restructuring of the game so that it fits my ideas of what I consider to be a good game for, or a good form for Genshin. I think it's a little bit more. I think the things that I want are a little bit more than wrinkles and fine-tuned edges, Josh. Because, I was like, I can't. I don't know. Like, it should be probably stated. I assume characters are balanced around having C6. It would be kind of dumb and short-sighted if they weren't. Well, in theory, it's not always the case, though. Because for Chi-Chi's, being able to revive everyone from death when you use your ult, it's pretty strong, but it's not what makes Chi-Chi good. You're supposed to be avoiding death. Barbara's understandable. Chi-Chi is... That's a lot of wailing because she hasn't had a banner yet. Indeed. Indeed. Oh, you're only 7 short of the legend. Those people who just have the entire universe aligned for them and they get like 5 of the same character in a multi. Indeed, that's kind of the legend. Although I wonder, it is possible, it's just I do wonder how extremely remote that even is to hit 0.6 7 times in a row. Unfortunately, I don't actually know how to calculate that math there. Would it be 0.6 times 0.6, essentially 7 times? You can kind of do it for the most part, I think. But I don't feel like learning. Indeed, it's your only suit. But back to what I was saying. Because if C6 is what characters are balanced around having, I don't feel like it's right to have to spend a shit ton of money, aka hundreds of dollars, if not more, to get them to that point. For a 5-star character. It's either less or more because it might be subject to the laws of RNG. It's like, again, I'm more or less asking them to restructure their entire game for the sake of my personal enjoyment. Which I could really only defend if that happened to the majority of everyone else's enjoyment. Another pet subject. See, I could maybe almost defend having to buy characters constellation if it was a matter of like, here's $100, here's a venti dupe, or just venti in general. Like, I do kind of wonder if they would make more money if they just allowed characters to be bought straight up. I'd say $100, in my opinion. I mean, that it's a little expensive, but like compared to having to spend thousands on just Put 3 rights. Make a left, Josh. I mean, they are a business and they do need to make money, but no, I wouldn't go that low. I'd say 50 at least. That's perfectly fair to me. I would say for a 5-star. See, there's also that ranking of characters too. That's kind of an issue also. Because if you're going to get a 5-star, like there should certainly be something special and powerful about them, right? I mean, to me, it's just one of those, like, I kind of feel bad for the person who likes Amber but doesn't use them. But, they're just not as good as anything else they could build up to the same amount of strength, aka way stronger. And if we ever did get multiplayer content of significance, that person probably would not be welcome in a lot of parties. Same. That too, because I think it all launched in like October or September, one of those. I don't actually know. Taking pictures, Josh. Oh wait, no, it's something else. Yeah, I should say, like, I know I have a couple of Amber dupes that I don't want. Because the first one is actually a detriment to her playstyle. No, she shoots 2 arrows on her first constellation. And the second one does 20% of the first arrow's damage. It's like Venti's, but Venti's is stronger and it shoots 2 instead of just 1 extra. Because they don't appear on it. They don't. I have 1. Charged elemental skill. Which is not a lot. Not Indeed, it does help, but it's like, here's 10 out of 80. And then you generate like a tiny amount, just in general. Oh, there was an interesting mental exercise going over what makes certain 4-star characters not 5-star material. Yes, I thought out all the 4 stars. If I remember, well, I can just pull up the notepad I have real quick. Yes, I did. I said her E is clunky because you have to sit there and charge it and take damage most of the time. She doesn't gain a lot of energy from her E because it's on a really long cooldown, and spamming your E does not get you anything, which is fine because you others get really, really fast otherwise. Toronto attacks are really short range for a Catalyst user. I wouldn't say especially hard. See, how many Catalyst users are there that are first? She is definitely balanced around her ult, which is really strong even for a 4-star ult. If it wasn't for the fact that it's on a character that does not get a ton of energy, it would actually be really good. And then, of course, there's the other problem with her ult, is that it pushes enemies out of it, thereby kind of nullifying the strength of that ult. Or even Noelle, Amber, and Lisa, or Lisa, Kaya, and Amber, the original starter characters. It's not even, that's just a team, that if you include Traveler. Something occurs to me. I can find out exactly how old this game is by checking when I got Amber. 10? Well, no, it'd be a little bit younger than that, or older than that, because I did not. No, I did not. I didn't. I found like it was people were hyping up as soon as I learned it was a phone game. I was like, nah, phone games are garbage trash. I don't want to play it. It looked good. The characters looked cool, and I decided I would give phone games and free-to-play games one final chance before I condemn them all into futile attempts. It occurs to me, I don't see a reason why we have to go 1 hour at most if we have stuff we want to talk about for the day. Because some topics will definitely be easier to talk about than others. As long as we... Another 10. Just... Kind of. His ult is, definitely one of the strongest buffs in the game. That is why he is very good. Yeah, I don't know about that, but he's a support. He's not... The main DPS can live without his support. Indeed. But beyond that, another thing that's kind of lazy in my opinion is just stat differences. All of the 5-star characters have generally more stats than the 4-star ones. Hmm. It's kind of lazy in my. And I don't know, but maybe I'm just being too picky. Because I do like a lot of the characters in the game. I don't necessarily like that they are outclassed by others. Because I am not a fan of useless. If something is useless, why does it exist? Just takes up coding and load times, I assume. Indeed, you can make anger do damage if you really work hard at it and give her a 5-star weapon, but like you could also put that same amount of effort and that 5-star weapon on Venti, and he would do a ton of damage. Indeed. Kind of unfortunate, because I like things to be balanced. I like every option to be a valid choice, even though that is a very hard standard to live up to.
Let's play. Think you can get away?
Even if it's situational, as long as the situation is met, the usefulness is there. As long as it isn't too situational. Here's this 1 in 1,000 chance that all of the elements that to make this thing useful are there.
Brace yourself.
I also do wonder about the power of 5-star weapons, because they are
Brace
kind of really
yourself.
broken. Especially the weapons that are more or less handcrafted for some characters. I would say it's strong on him, but it gives. I don't like elemental mastery. There are better things like the most handcrafted weapon I have seen in the game thus far is Staff of Homa for Wu Tao. And then the other one for Zhongli would be Spear, or Vortex Vanquisher, I think it's called. Yep. If I remember correctly, it increases shield strength by a set amount and then it gives you a bunch of damage if you are shielded. Zhongli because... no. Well, maybe, but I do know that it works really strong with Zhongli because he has an insane amount of... Or, no, correction, he has the strongest shield in the game. It's just a shield that gets stronger every time it's hit, up to 5 times. And it scales off of his maximum health, which I think that same spear also had the same maximum HP bonus that Staff of Homa does. It's just, I feel like a lot of things in this game need to be considered. But I would more or less be asking them to change the game fundamentally. Like, what if you could obtain every character in the game? That might be good, but that would be knocking out a giant source of revenue for MiHoYo, so I'd never expect that to happen. If not the... Maybe. Let's think. The lantern, right? There is. It's just not dispatch. Unless there's an even bigger festival in Li Hui, which will be even crazier than the Lantern Rite event. I mean, the majority of the Lantern Rite is pretty easy, Josh. Hope you liked fetch quests. Theater Mechanicus. Then it got old. Indeed. I had fun of it at first, but like all things I have fun with, I play them a lot and get kind of burnt out on. I only continued to play and do what I needed to do for the event because, like, yeah, I want Primo Gens. Now that I think about it, kind of reminds me of Mario Party now that I have thought about it. I mean, I imagine a new Mario Party would have that exact same thing, so kind of not quite equivalent, but definitely the roulette of here's what you could get. Indeed, it puts interesting content in the game. You know, it would be a really good idea for them to put some permanent dungeons in the game that require both cooperation from multiple players. That is, requires you to solve puzzles that more or less function the same way. There's some of these puzzles, like the I'm just going to call it the Fall Guys thing. Maybe. But this game really needs multiplayer. Or more multiplayer, I should say. That too. Because, you know, watching people fall through the floor is not amusing. Because I wasn't actually falling through the floor. Probably. This makes me wonder how long the delay is. It makes me wonder if the netcode is so bad because the game is overloaded. Not actually expecting to deal with this many players. I mean, that's one reason. Or kind of an acceptable reason, I would say, but should fix it. Fix it sooner rather than later. And then add in content which will make it fun. Which does also remind me of that theory talked about yesterday about they were not expecting Genshin to be popular and explode. Yes, and so now they are desperately catching up to make it into what should have been 1.0. Kind of. Indeed. Indeed, up until Zhao, or post Hu Tao, I should say. Oh, no, Kitchen was before Hu Tao, wasn't she? Indeed, and before Hu Tao. I also like to I just want them to fix their problems and then work on making additions to the game. Because their problems are going to detract from the game, which are going to make people quit. Not right now. Indeed. I'm not quite sure who did it, but I have heard that there is a YouTube video out there of someone who just does Spiral Abyss with like a 4-star team and 3-star weapons to more or less prove that you don't need to do that, but at the same time, I mean, it is fun to see big numbers. I like big numbers, but there is an issue, in my opinion, with what they need to like balance the game around something. I feel like if they were to ever add multiplayer content, it would just be, or more multiplayer content would just be million damage mono ults or nothing, and some poor, unfortunate soul has to play Bennett in every team. Unless they like Bennett, in which case, good on you. I mean, there's not really any interaction, though. But we are a passionate community. Passion can turn to toxicity pretty quickly, though. Indeed. I would say it would, I don't know, there's just no content that would really generate toxicity. Yes, indeed. It's hard to say. I want there to be harder content in the game, personally. Spiral Abyss is hard enough, kind of, but to get all 3 stars is kind of a... I was thinking that when I was like, well, no, I know. I really need to find that video and actually see if it's true. Because I don't feel like I could even remotely get close to getting 3 stars from floor 12 without having Ganyu as strong as she is. Yes, by a huge margin. I've recently made Xingqiu second strongest. It's a pretty close tie between him and Official. Indeed. But that was also because I had Mona, and they have decent synergy, constant electro-charged. But I have not done anything with Mona's artifacts since I have stopped using her in my teams. Which unfortunately would require me to grind out artifacts to level up her artifacts, and then spend money on those artifacts. Something I would do if I could play the game to do those things without having to spend $15 a day. Or even a single dollar a day.
Yahoo! Think you can get away?
Nah. It doesn't really matter. For artifacts, that is, and money. I don't know, just things like I suppose the more I think about it, it's like the more I don't want this to be a mobile game. So mobile games are bad. Anyone who says otherwise, but if I ask them to compare any mobile game to a PC game, it's like, well, that's completely different. That is kind of the point. Mobile games don't compare to PC or even console games.
Bring it on.
Because you wanted that close-up of Klee and all her greatness.
Wow. Yahoo! Think you can get away?
Just don't like mobile games. Some of them, people that like them are fine, but don't compare them to PC games because you can't. Anything you can. Indeed. In games like Genshin and some other games too, but they trying to get in on more active gaming, which is typically done on either consoles or PCs.
Nice.
You can run, but you can't hide.
You need something to do that you can just stop at any time. It's not something you're like, you know what, I'm gonna become the best Plants vs. Zombie player in the world.
No time to lose.
I actually don't know much about the current video game market. I know that some of them some of them are really dumb.
Here we go.
And very challenging, like Heroes Wars. It's dumb hard how hard that game is, right, Josh?
Think you can get away?
There is a market for mobile games, but Genshin is not in the mobile game market. It is a PC game on the phone. Probably the same with Honkai Impact 3rd, I would say. Yeah. It's a bridge you cannot close, in my opinion. You will always be losing out on one or the other. Because Genshin could be a really good game if they drop the mobile aspects. Because I have heard that Ayaka was in the closed beta from you, and she has kind of curious why she is not out yet. I can come up with two reasons. A, they don't have a good story reason for her to be in the game yet, which is kind of acceptable. I mean, maybe, but then there's, the one outlier: catching a Li Hui character is immediately drawable as soon as you join the game. Or when it was first released, I should say. So that's not even a good argument. Same with Chi-Chi as well. They could just have the character in the game to be drawn.
Life goes on.
Which leaves only one other option, that they cannot solve some issues with her ult, in my opinion, from what I hear of it.
Have you heard?
I could get used to this.
That clearing.
Click can help. In the name of the
We'll look at her one day, but is it going to be any day soon? Who knows? Could be. I mean, to me, it would just say, is like, they have this cool character, but they can't balance it because part of me wonders how much of that is phone game limitations actually getting in the way of fixing that. Possible indeed. I would say 6 more minutes and then we can stop. Stop. I don't know. I mean, those people probably a bit too conservative, in my opinion. But then again, if this was a game where you could just get every character in the game, they wouldn't need to do that. It's a matter of waiting for them to be released. Which again is going back to, this game could be better if they just, completely changed it. That might be a big reason. Oh, I remember playing Final Fantasy Opera Omnia and being like, wow, this is a cool game. And then I spent like a couple $100 trying to obtain a weapon for Warrior of Light when that shenanigans came out. I was like, I want it. I didn't get it because they didn't have a pity system in that game. And then I was like, you know what? Phone games are trash. A gotcha system. It's fine. Indeed. No. Leaking
Master,
is bad. I thought of one thing. Indeed. Because I think beyond that, it's mostly kind of harmless. Like, what? I mean, just two. Indeed, $200 and you can have the thing. Character of your choice. Or actually, no, that would make it $400, wouldn't it? $400 more or less for guaranteed character that you want on a featured banner. Is a little crazy indeed. No, don't give people a reason that's easy to do. Just make it so that people want to, not because they have to. Creating a problem and then selling the solution is not cool. Indeed. Let's say a minimum of 1, a maximum of 2. Do you have a Twitter, Josh, for this cast? Indeed.